I'm Burton Goldberg. It's estimated that 43 million Americans are on antidepressant drugs. By itself, that's pretty depressing news for two good reasons. Well, really, two bad reasons. First, because antidepressant drugs are harmful. They can actually kill you. Although an SSRI drug was banned in Germany, the FDA said it was okay to use it here. Then the suicides began. And eventually the FDA was forced to add a black box warning. Don't take my word for it. Google Paxil and suicide, and up comes 10 pages of frightful stories linking Paxil with suicide and murder.
It's like playing a piano. You play the happy notes. These nutritional notes are very, very easily heard and very quickly heard. We use the amino acids in our office when we come in and someone gives us the list of low serotonin symptoms. We give them 5-HTP or tryptophan. And in 10 or 15 minutes, someone who's been very negative, very pessimistic, oh, this probably isn't going to work, nothing else did, irritable, is starting to tell jokes, is smiling, and they feel it too.
So then the question is, how does a person taper from the medication and put in its place the amino acid therapies and the nutritional therapies so that then they can start operating on their own steam rather than having to rely on the crutch?
Women with flat depression where they have no motivation, if there's a hormone component, what we see over and over again is that estradiol, the E2, drops below 130.
But they may be excessive in the bad hormones. They may be out of balance that way.
Well, what they have is a dropping E2 level and a rising E1, estrogen 1 level.
So it's the imbalance of the good hormone.
That's right.
Patricia, how can you help people with depression?
People can have allergies or reactions to foods, what Dr. William Philpott called brain allergies. However, what I found over time, my original work started 25 years ago with that whole concept that you ate certain foods and you responded. But as I got more into the biochemistry of it, I began to realize that certainly there's biochemistry in everything you eat, but the immune system won't work right if we're in a toxic mode.
When you came here,
yes,
you were terribly depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about it.
Well, there was no reason to get up. I didn't want to face every day, any day, because every day was pain, not feeling good.
And here you are, carrying on a normal life.
Yep, I love it.
So by doing the biofeedback therapy back in June, we were able to re-regulate some of these things and get rid of these. And this was the first slice we saw on the original analysis. And then today, we have today's drawing. You can see it's largely all yellows, 1, 2s, and 3s. So we did several sessions. It took maybe 30 seconds to do that, to re-regulate that and do the biofeedback on that. And now her experience is that she is feeling much better.
Depression is really depletion. It's a depletion of the neurotransmitters that we need to make us feel good. It's usually serotonin and dopamine. And by the way, there are lots of neurotransmitters, but the ones we focus on are these ones, and that doesn't mean they're the only ones. But what I have found is that when people are depressed, it's really not a Prozac deficiency.
When you compare the efficacy or the lack thereof to the safety risks of suicide and violence, it doesn't weigh out in favor of prescribing, at least not in the amount of prescriptions that are written today. That's one thing that I can almost get most of my most strong adversaries to admit, is that these drugs are overprescribed. And the physicians, because they've not been educated properly by the drug companies, do not monitor their patients so that those who are prescribed these medications can take them safely.
This is another example that I like, and I see this so often. Here's a guy who said, "I've lost it." So when we talked about his diet, he was eating the diet that Julia showed, basically caffeine and sugar and refined carbohydrates. He said he hadn't any energy for exercise. And we augmented his adrenal hormones, and he started feeling great. He actually started feeling better right away.
Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. 2 weeks after my last dose of Paxil, I woke up in my bed, soaking. I was completely wet with sweat, drenched, my sheets, everything. I had intense abdominal pain and a headache. I thought, well, maybe I have the flu. But you know what? I never had the flu and was sweating this way, not ever. I made it into clear the next Monday morning, and the first doctor I saw was Dr. Morgan Camp. I immediately went to Dr. Camp and said, Dr. Camp, help me. I'm going through a drug withdrawal, and it's really bad.
I hope you've learned a lot about depression, anxiety, and panic disorder. The thing to remember is you don't have to stay on drugs. There are safe, inexpensive, effective treatments.
We have people calling in every day telling us how they're doing on their supplements. And the most common phrase they use is, it's amazing. I walked into the supermarket to get my healthy food supplies, but I had to walk down the bakery aisle to get to them, and usually that would be the end of my trip. This time it still smelled good, but I wasn't interested. I didn't have to get it. And that's what we need, a healthy indifference to these poisonous foods. We don't need a fix if we're already fixed.